Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing on the 24th of April 2020. It's 8 a.m. in the morning, and yes, we are here at 8 a.m. every morning with you on New Zealand Sport Radio. And in the news today, we have A-League's big meeting, all change at the top of the ARU, and the British follow New Zealand and Italians lead in the America's Cup. And let's get straight into it with our football news. Stephen from Stagland, bring us up to date.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's not often we get a whole day's news with local stuff to talk about, but today is that day. So here is the football news you need to know about right today. Well, the only non-local thing we've got is the Belarusian League kicking back into action, but we've got more New Zealand football cancellations. We've got a bit of an update around the Phoenix Academy, but first, it is 24 hours late, but the A-League has finally announced its decision or its announcement from its much-awaited April the 22nd meeting. Yeah, I couldn't find anything on April the 22nd. So the A-League certainly took a little while to get this one going. But unlike other sports, the FFA has withheld from making any ambitious promises. Now, while they've reconfirmed their intentions to restart the season, it'll only be done when a number of criteria are satisfied. Those being player and staff safety, state and federal border restrictions being lifted, large gatherings restrictions being lifted, and social distancing protocols being agreed on by all governments involved. So nothing really that new at all. The FFA, it's hard to see training starting before the end of May, but does say that if the NRL can do it, then why can't we? And that is when they're going to re-update the situation at the end of May as well for another update on the matter as to where the league sits. So really, in a nutshell, they've decided nothing and just reaffirmed the updates they've already been giving over the last month or so. Moving on, but staying with the A-League, and it's the Phoenix Football Academy that has been placed on hiatus as the club comes to terms with the impact of COVID-19. We are back to writing more letters, which is the way things are being done at the moment, but this time the club is sending it out to Academy members' parents outlining the club's decision and how they will reassess when the grassroots football returns. The letter outlined no guarantee that every player would be able to return when it resumed and advised players were free to return back home. Around 60 players were involved in the academy, which has had high focus by the club over recent years, producing talent like Sarpreet Singh, who is now with German giants at Bayern Munich, and of course current Nick stars Libby Karache as well. Now, it's more New Zealand football news, and it's all local today. They have announced, New Zealand football, that they have cancelled the Chatham Cup and the Kate Shepherd Cup as well. Now, the preliminary rounds for both cups were set to take place this weekend, with the finals day set for September the 13th. This will now be the first year the Chatham Cup has not taken place since it was mothballed in 1941 and 1944 during World War II. So this is really unprecedented times, isn't it? Now, while the Women's Kate Shepherd's Cup has been ongoing since 1994, it's going to be the first year we miss out on that as well. Napier City Rovers are the current Chatham Cup holders, and Auckland's Eastern Suburbs hold the Kate Shepherd's Cup for them. Now, finally, today, the Belarusian Premier League kicks back into action. It's not slowing down this league. It just keeps on ticking up. And we've got a couple of games happening tonight. The opening game of the round will see the struggling and winless Smulovici, who are down near the bottom of the table, and they are hosting the 12th place Dynamo Minsk. And then in the second game of the night, we'll see the 14th place Neman Grodno take on the hot starters who have quickly fallen off the place. That is Energetic, who started very well with 3 wins on the trot and now followed that up with 2 losses. So they'll be wanting to get their form back and continue to fight for those top of the table places. There's 3 more games tomorrow night, and there's 3 more games on Sunday night as well to wrap up the round, and we'll have all those results and fixtures right here each morning to keep you guys up to date. That is it for football full time from me, Paul, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Stephen from Stagland. And for those of you who enjoy your cricket, we don't have a cricket update today, but what we do have is a brand new cricket-focused show here on New Zealand Sport Radio. And it is called Swinging from the Hip. It went live last night at 8 p.m. So you can catch the recording here on any of the channels you're watching New Zealand Sport Radio, either Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. and it is also available out as a podcast. So go check that out. And you know what? We even have a celebrity, ex-Black Cap, who is one of our co-presenters on there. I'm going to hand you over now to Stephen, who will bring us up to date with all the birthdays.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning, everybody out there. And birthdays today, a star golfer from a young age, a midfielder that dominated the 12 jersey during the 70s, and a man that they called the Chiefs. Tony Tuamavave is a Samoan-born professional rugby league footballer who played for the Auckland Warriors between 1995 and 2000. Tuamavave primarily played at prop and lock. He was nicknamed the Chief because he is a chief back in his native Samoa. He represented both Western Samoa and New Zealand at international level. And Tony, 1969. Tony is 51 today. Staying with the oval ball, Bill Osborne is a former New Zealand Rugby Union player, a second 5/8 and a centre. Osborne represented Wanganui and Waikato at provincial level. Started his career with the local Kaieto club rugby union in Whanganui. He was a member of New Zealand's national side, the All Blacks, between 1975 and 1982, playing 48 matches, including 16 internationals. William Michael Osborne, born this day, the 24th of April 1955 in Whanganui. Bill is 65 today. He actually formed a very good midfield partnership with Bruce Robertson during the 70s. And finally, well, a bit of a rock star golf player here. Lydia Ko is a Korean-born New Zealand professional golfer who became the #1 ranked woman professional golfer on the 2nd of February 2015 at 17 years, 9 months and 9 days of age, making her the youngest player of either gender to be ranked #1 in the professional golf. Upon winning the Evian Championship in France on 13th of September 2015, she became the youngest woman at aged 18 years, 4 months and 20 days to win a major championship. Her closing round of 63 was a record lowest final round in history of women's golf majors. Since turning professional in 2014, Ko has career winnings of $10 million as of 21st of September 2019. Additionally, she is the first LPGA Tour player to win at least $2 million in each of her first 3 full seasons on tour. Ko has won 26 tournaments in her career thus far, but it's fair to say after an outstanding start to her career and receiving so many accolades, she has not quite followed through. Ko is currently rated 39 in the world. Lydia Ko, born this day, the 24th of April, 1997 in Seoul, Korea. Lydia is 23 today, so she's still young enough to turn this around. Happy birthday to all three.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for those birthdays. Let's hope they have a nice piece of cake in their bubbles today and stay safe. Moving on to rugby news, then Raelene Castle has resigned from the Australian CEO, or the Australian Rugby Union CEO has resigned after pressure from, let's be honest, a lot of Fox News professionals and also from some of the Australian Rugby Union old captains. There's been lots of things saying what's wrong with the sport, but there's been very few solutions coming out from the critics. But it appears that the board lost faith in Raelene and decided that they needed the space that would be given to them by her resignation to start turning things round. There's obviously a lot of negative news in the press over there. In a press interview, she was asked, does she feel like there's been a concerted attack or a coordinated attack to get rid of her? But she refused to go down that route. She was excluded from a board call on Wednesday evening and then was pulled out of a call with Super Rugby franchise on a Thursday as well, which showed that basically, that the writing was on the wall, and that if she didn't resign, then the board probably would have probably would have sacked her. Let's be honest. She had set up put in a very good training or coaching setup that would start next season built around Dave Rennie. She'd also managed a strong crop of under-20s who lost to France in the final of the Junior Rugby World Championship, and the under-18s had beaten New Zealand earlier. So clearly the development pathways in Australia seem to be working, but as I say, that she has been, or she has now stood down. After yesterday that we said that the Blues had announced, had said they hadn't had to let anybody go, a day later we find out that they now have, as have the Chiefs as well. Obviously, it's sad that that they've both had to let staff go. We understand it's not to do with any of the actual playing staff or any of the coaching staff, but it's the backroom staff. So things like media or business development are probably the areas that have been impacted. It's sad to see that this is happening. These aren't big organisations in the first place. Obviously, we've also had the Players Rugby Union Association in Australia has also come out and said, look, Super Rugby needs to be revitalised. It's not putting bums on seats. Again, lots of pointing out what's wrong, but no actual solutions pointed out by Fitzpatrick in his press release. So let's see if anything does happen, or if we do go back to the round robin, 15 teams in Super Rugby, or whether that something else happens instead. I'm going to hand you over now to Stephen, who will take us through our league news.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, just a bit of the Warriors news to start us off here. The Warriors have overcome a significant impediment in their quest towards being part of the revised competition. I'll turn my mic on. We'll start again. The Warriors have overcome a significant impediment in their quest towards being part of the revised NRL competition in 2020, but it still seems unlikely that they will be able to meet the necessary timeframes for the suggested restart of May 28th. Despite the optimistic look of Project Apollo, the task force put together to find a way for the competition to restart as soon as possible. There is no sense that the NRL will be able to mitigate the challenges involved quickly enough. Head of Project Apollo, Wayne Pearce, asserted his commitment to the May 28th launch in a meeting with all clubs on Wednesday night. But so many hurdles remain. However, the Warriors have made one important breakthrough. The Herald understands that playing squads have agreed to make the trip to Australia whenever that is given the green light, without their wives, partners, and children. The players have made a commitment that they will go first, with the exception, and hope that their families will be able to join them at some stage later. This was a considerable step. Previously, it was a sticking point, as some players were reluctant to travel and relocate for months at a time without concrete plans being made for their families. But there has been a realization that it was going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get permission from the Australian border authorities to bring families at the same time, given the extra complications happening. And finally, in league news, the NRL players will be willing as many games as possible in 2020 to fulfill the wishes of the broadcasters, according to the Rugby League Players Association. The NRL's revised season format will be likely known by the middle of next week, with Friday's Project Apollo meeting now pushed back until then. General Manager of Player and Football Operations, Clint Newlands, says the players are committed to fulfilling the obligations that will allow broadcast talks to have wrapped up in time, with some potential negotiations with Nine and Foxtel could be complete as soon as Friday. It's expected the regular season will be anywhere from 15 to 22 rounds, plus a State of Origin series played either late in the season or after the finals. No decision on whether that competition will go ahead is expected until August. Meanwhile, Newton said he had no concerns over the players' ability to perform in the Origin later in the year if the three-match showpiece is scheduled after the grand final. There has previously been an argument that players would be burnt out before the representative matches come around, with Origin always previously scheduled for mid-season, but Newton said he would put his faith in the interim chief executive, Andrew Abdo, to decide, given his experience as a chief commercial officer and expertise on what will sell best. So there we have it, all the league news. At this stage, it's almost a case of get on with it already. Back to you, Paul. And thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And at 2 p.m. today, we will have another long talk, this time with Junior Poliunganga, the Samoan international. I apologise for my mispronunciation of his surname there. Yesterday, we had the volleyball CEO on the long talk. So at 2 p.m. every single day, we've been having, Monday to Friday, we have the long talk coming out for you. In America's Cup news, the Team UK and the American team, Team Magic, had started off with scow-shaped hulls featuring flat hulls of their boats, whereas Team New Zealand and the Italian Luna Rossa opted with hulls featuring a skate-like bustles. Now, what that essentially means is that the American and the UK boats had a smooth hull, and whereas the New Zealand and the Italians had a ridge running down the middle. We've just seen that a photo from Team Ineos, the UK team, and they have added one to their boat. So it looks like the UK team are following in the footsteps of the New Zealand and Italian team in their design, and we'll expect to see that in their second boat, which with all the teams making their or trying to build their second boat as quickly as possible, with coronavirus obviously impacting that. We'll see whether the American Magic will follow suit. But also apparently we're going to expect the UK team had a more box-like aerodynamic sides to their boat, and it's interesting to see whether we'll have the other teams will follow that innovation. I think we're going to see quite a lot of borrowing of ideas, or stealing of ideas, you might say, between the boats on their second iteration. That is your morning briefing for today. Don't forget to join us at 8 a.m. every single morning. We will bring you up to speed with the latest or the most important news around the globe.